Proverbs 16:15. In the light of the king's countenance is life, and his favor is as a cloud of the latter rain. A king's countenance is his appearance, his demeanor, or his spirit. A countenance with light is favorable bearing or conduct, as the second clause of that verse shows us. His approval brings life and blessing like the latter rain. And that is the rain that comes just before harvest and finishes a crop with growth and moisture. The question is, how do you win the approval of a king or a person in authority? Well, use gentle speech. It says in Proverbs 15:1, a soft answer turneth away wrath, but grievous words stir up anger. Proverbs 25:15 says, by long forbearing is a prince persuaded, and a soft tongue breaketh the bone. Submit rather than confront. Ecclesiastes 8:2, 3, and 4 says, I counsel thee to keep the king's commandment, that in regard of the oath of God. Be not hasty to go out of his sight. Stand not in an evil thing, for he doeth whatsoever pleaseth him. Where the word of a king is, there is power. And who may say to him, what doest thou? Seek wisdom. Proverbs 14:35, the king's favor is toward a wise servant, but his wrath is against him that causeth shame. Children must obey and honor their parents. Ephesians 6:1-3 says, children, obey your parents in the Lord, for this is right. Honor thy father and mother, which is the first commandment with promise, that it may be well with thee, that thou mayest live long on the earth. That first verse ought to be the first verse that you teach your children. Wives are to reverence their husbands. Ephesians 5:33 says, nevertheless, let every one of you in particular so love his wife even as himself, and the wife see that she reverence her husband. By the way, that verse is the key to a marriage. Employees are to honor employers. 1 Timothy 6:1-2 says, let as many servants as are under the yoke count their masters worthy of all honor, that the name of God and his doctrine be not blasphemed. And they that have believing masters, let them not despise them because they are brethren, but rather do them service because they are faithful and beloved, partakers of the benefit. These things teach and exhort. Church members are to esteem their pastors. In 1 Thessalonians 5:12-13, he says, we beseech you, brethren, to know them which labor among you and are over you in the Lord and admonish you, and to esteem them very highly in love for their work's sake, and be at peace among yourselves. God ordained authority by infinite wisdom, so disrespect of any sphere of its rebellion is against God himself. Romans 13:1-2 says, let every soul be subject unto the higher powers. For there's no power but of God, the powers that be are ordained of God. Whosoever therefore resisteth the power, resisteth the ordinance of God. And they that resist shall receive to themselves damnation. He reserves some of the harshest language of the Bible for rebels. 2 Peter 2:10-12 says, but chiefly them that walk after the flesh in the lust of uncleanness and despise government, presumptuous are they, self-willed. They're not afraid to speak evil of dignities. Whereas angels, which are greater in power and might, bring not railing accusation against them before the Lord. But these, as natural brute beasts, must be made to be taken and destroyed, speak evil of the things they understand not, and shall utterly perish in their own corruption. It's a truth we find throughout the Word of God. Those that rebel against the authorities over them do and will rebel against God.